Okay, so strap yourselves in because today we're diving headfirst into the AI revolution
We are.
with none other than Sam Altman,
Yeah,
trying to figure out where this wild ride is going.
absolutely. And you know what's so fascinating about Altman's take on all this? He doesn't shy away from the big, scary questions, like at all.
No, he doesn't.
He's not just building the tech, he's wrestling with the fact that this could actually change what it means to be human.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. I mean, remember when we thought AI was just robots taking factory jobs?
Yeah.
Like that was the big fear.
Right.
But after listening to Altman talk to Rogan, it's so clear this wave is about to crash on everything.
Oh, absolutely. And what's interesting is how Altman himself has changed his thinking. He used to think this would mostly hit blue-collar jobs. But with AI artists, AI writers, even creative fields aren't safe. Remember that AI painting that went for over 400 grand a few years back?
Oh yeah, that was a real wake-up call for a lot of artists.
Exactly.
So are we all about to be competing with algorithms for our paychecks now?
Well, Altman doesn't sugarcoat it. He says, yeah, job losses are going to happen. Some sectors are going to be massively disrupted. That's why he's pushing for universal basic income.
Right, as a safety net, right.
Exactly. If AI is generating all this wealth, some of it needs to go back to making sure everyone's got a basic standard of living.
Like a new social contract for the AI age. But even with that, change that big is going to be tough for a lot of people. Did Altman have any other ideas about how we get through this?
He's a huge believer in retraining, education. Imagine someone who used to drive a truck now being trained as an AI logistics specialist, managing fleets of self-driving trucks.
Right, so it's not just about jobs disappearing. It's about getting ready for the jobs that haven't even been invented yet.
Exactly. It's like, could we have predicted social media managers before the internet? This is that times 1,000.
True. And let's not forget, AI could actually solve some of our biggest problems, right?
Yeah.
Altman seems really pumped about what it could do for scientific discovery.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine AI finding cures for cancer, Alzheimer's, or helping us actually beat climate change. That's the future. Altman sees AI not just for efficiency, but for making life better for everyone.
It's exciting, but a little scary too, right? Like unleashing something this powerful without a plan.
Well, that's the thing. Altman knows this isn't just about building cool tech. It's about safety, too. We have to think about what happens if AI goes rogue or someone uses it for bad stuff like autonomous weapons or mass surveillance.
Right, so maybe it's more like giving a teenager the keys to a supercar with no driving lessons.
Exactly. Huge potential, but also a huge risk if we're not careful.
Totally.
And that's where things get really interesting. Altman doesn't see AI as good or bad by itself. It's a tool, like a hammer. You can build a house or you can,
Hit someone over the head with it?
Exactly. It all depends on what we do with it.
So it's about making sure AI builds a better world. But who decides what that looks like? And how do we make sure everyone benefits, not just a select few?
Those are the billion-dollar questions, and Altman doesn't claim to have all the answers. But he's sure about one thing. This isn't just a Silicon Valley conversation.
This affects all of us.
Everyone. We need ethicists, philosophers, everyday people. Everyone needs to be part of shaping how this plays out.
So we've got potential benefits, huge risks, the need for global cooperation.
Yeah.
But what do we do as individuals? Should we all be learning to code or something?
That's where Altman gets really interesting. He thinks that with AI getting smarter, what makes us human matters even more.
Really? I figured it was time to brush up on my coding skills, try to outsmart the machines before it's too late.
It's tempting to think that way, but Altman's saying, no, focus on what humans are good at. Creativity, empathy, critical thinking, the stuff algorithms can't replicate.
So being more human, not more like a machine.
Exactly. He sees a future where humans and AI work together, where AI helps us be better at what we do.
That's kind of a hopeful way to look at it. But before we get too comfy with that idea, let's talk about AGI, artificial general intelligence.
Ah, yes. The point where AI goes from writing a poem to writing a poem, composing a symphony, and solving climate change before breakfast.
Exactly. Not just smarter machines, but a whole new kind of intelligence, one that could be more powerful than our own.
And that's why Altman says AGI might be the biggest event in human history. We're not just inventing something, we might be creating a new form of life, in a way.
So how do we even process that? Like explaining the internet to someone from the Stone Age.
It's a challenge, for sure. But for Altman, it starts with remembering that AGI, like any tool, isn't good or bad on its own. It's how we use it that matters.
So intentions are everything. But how do we make sure those intentions are good? What's to stop AGI from deciding humans are the problem and, hitting the reset button on us.
That's what everyone's worried about, right? Altman gets that. He says we have to be proactive, not reactive, establish ethical guidelines, safety rules, all that right from the start.
So like making sure the self-driving car knows the rules of the road before we let it on the highway.
Exactly. And just like with traffic laws, we need everyone on board. Different rules for AI in every country would be a disaster.
Chaos.
Total chaos. Altman's talking about global cooperation, governments, tech companies, researchers all working together on safety standards, ethical guidelines.
So more like a global AI ethics summit than a bunch of politicians signing a treaty they don't even understand.
Exactly. And it's not just about preventing disaster scenarios. Altman thinks AGI could help us solve world hunger, achieve world peace, you name it. But we need that shared vision, those guiding principles, to make sure we're steering this thing in the right direction.
Okay, I'm starting to get the bigger picture. But this is a lot, you know? It's easy to feel powerless with all this talk about summits and guidelines. What can regular people actually do to get ready for an AGI future?
That's where Altman's message gets really empowering. He says that in a world of super smart machines, our human side is what matters most.
Wait, seriously. I was thinking I should be learning to code, trying to outsmart the machines.
It's tempting. But Altman says no, double down on what makes you you. Creativity, empathy, critical thinking, the things algorithms can't fake.
So be more human, not more like a machine. That's actually kind of nice.
Right. And that's what we're going to unpack after the break, what those uniquely human skills look like in an AI-driven world.
You're killing me with these cliffhangers. We'll be right back with the final part of our deep dive into AI and AGI with Sam Altman, right here on The Deep Dive. All right, so we're back and ready to really get into it, AGI territory. Before the break, we were comparing AI to this super tool, but AGI feels different, right? Bigger somehow.
Way bigger. Altman's not talking about just another tech upgrade here. He's talking about a fundamental shift in what intelligence on this planet even is. We could be talking about creating something that doesn't just learn like we do, but something that could become more intelligent than us.
Okay, wow. That's both exhilarating and kind of terrifying, honestly. So how do I even get my head around the difference between like the AI recommending podcast for me right now and this whole AGI thing?
Think of it like this right now. AI is like a chess prodigy, right? They can destroy anyone on the chessboard, but ask them to make you a cup of tea and they'd be totally lost.
Okay, I get it.
AGI is like that chess prodigy suddenly being able to pick up a paintbrush and create a masterpiece, then switch gears and write a best-selling novel all before lunch. It's about being able to do anything a human mind can do, but potentially even better.
Okay, yeah, that's a way better explanation. AI on steroids, brain power steroids.
Yeah.
And not just any brain power, but brain power that could totally outstrip our own. I mean, how do we even compete with that?
That's exactly why Altman says AGI might be the biggest thing to ever happen to humanity.
Wow.
Because it's not just a new iPhone or a faster car, it's a whole new kind of intelligence emerging on the planet.
So how do we even begin to understand what that means for, well, everything? It's like trying to explain the internet to, like, a caveman.
It's a huge challenge, no doubt. But Altman starts with this idea, AGI is a tool. And like any tool, it's not good or bad on its own. It's how we choose to use it.
Okay, so intention is everything. But how do we make sure those intentions are good? How do we make sure AGI doesn't decide to get rid of us? You know, like we're the problem.
Those are the big questions, keeping a lot of very smart people up at night. And Altman doesn't shy away from them. He says we need to be proactive, we need to be establishing ethical frameworks, safety regulations, all of that, right from the start.
So it's like, I don't know, making sure the self-driving car understands basic traffic laws before we let it loose on the highway.
Yes, exactly. And just like with traffic laws, we need everyone on the same page. Can you imagine if every country had different rules for AI? It would be chaos.
Total chaos.
Right. So Altman's talking about the need for global cooperation on this. Governments, tech companies, researchers all working together on safety standards, ethical guidelines, the whole 9 yards.
So more like a global AI ethics summit than a bunch of politicians signing a treaty they don't even understand.
100%. And it's not just about avoiding the worst case scenarios either. Altman genuinely believes AGI could help us solve some of our biggest problems, climate change, poverty, you name it.
Yeah.
But we need to have that shared vision, those guiding principles to make sure we're all steering this thing in the right direction, together.
Okay, yeah, I'm getting that. Big picture stuff. But it's also a lot to take in, you know? It's easy to feel kind of helpless with all this talk about summits and guidelines and all that. What can we do as individuals to get ready for an AGI future?
Honestly, that's where Altman's message is actually the most hopeful. He says that in a world of super smart machines, the things that make us human are going to be more valuable than ever.
Really? See, I was thinking it was time to brush up on my coding skills.
Yeah.
Try to outsmart the machines before it's too late.
It's tempting to think that way, but Altman says no. Focus on what you're good at as a person. Creativity, empathy, critical thinking, the stuff that algorithms can't just replicate.
So be more human, not more like a machine. I like that.
Exactly. And the best part is that translates into real-world skills.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to dive into after the break, what those uniquely human skills look like in an AI-driven world.
You're killing me with these cliffhangers. Don't go anywhere, folks.
Hmm.
We'll be right back with the final part of our deep dive into AI and AGI, right here on The Deep Dive. All right, so we're back diving into the deep end of the AI pool with Sam Altman. Before the break, we were talking about how in a world run by AGI, being human is what matters most. Which sounds kind of nice, honestly, but how does that actually work?
It's like we've spent decades trying to make computers more like us, trying to replicate human intelligence.
Right.
But maybe the real opportunity is to embrace what makes us different.
Okay.
Altman says, instead of trying to outsmart the machines, lean into those things that humans are naturally good at.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Things like complex problem solving, or creative thinking, emotional intelligence, the stuff that's really hard to program.
So it's less about being a walking encyclopedia and more about being a skilled artist or a compassionate leader, someone who can connect with other humans on a deeper level.
Exactly. Think about it. Instead of doctors being replaced by AI diagnosis machines, they use those machines as a tool.
Right.
The AI can analyze thousands of scans in seconds, but it's still the doctor who takes all that data, adds in their experience and gut feeling, and then talks to the patient, like a human being.
So it's AI and humans working together.
Yeah. Augmenting each other's abilities, not replacing each other outright.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest, this whole augmentation thing still makes me a little nervous. Like,
Yeah.
where's the line between being enhanced and just being got replaced?
That's the question, right?
Yeah.
And it's something Altman worries about, too. He says for this to work, for augmentation to really benefit humanity, it needs to be available to everyone.
Otherwise, it just makes the gap between the have and have-nots even bigger.
Exactly. It's not just about access to the tech either. It's about making sure AI is developed ethically, thinking about the consequences, having those tough conversations about how much control we're giving to machines.
It does feel like we're at this crucial point in history.
Totally.
This tech could solve so many problems, but it could also spiral out of control so easily.
It's a tightrope walk, for sure.
Yeah.
But what I appreciate about Altman is that he acknowledges that. He's not saying, let's just build it and see what happens. He's saying, we need to talk about these things, figure out how to make sure AI is a force for good.
So he's not just building the future, he's inviting us all to help shape it.
Exactly. It's on all of us to speak up, to have a say in how this technology unfolds.
That's a pretty empowering message.
It is, because it means that even with all this crazy complex stuff happening, we're not powerless. We have a voice and we have a responsibility to use it.
So what's the one thing you really hope our listeners take away from this deep dive, if they only remember one thing?
That the future isn't set in stone, It's not some movie playing out that we have no control over. It's being written right now through the choices we make, the things we prioritize, the conversations we're willing to have.
It's like we're all standing on the launch pad of the biggest technological revolution in history, and it's our job to decide where this rocket goes.
And we can't know for sure where we'll end up. But we can approach the future with open minds, remembering to ask the tough questions, demanding ethical development, and equal access to this technology. Because ultimately, it's about remembering what truly matters, our shared humanity, as we venture into this uncharted territory.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Keep those brains buzzing and those questions coming. We'll see you next time, right here on The Deep Dive.